We're finally ready to come face to face with the ultimate enemy here at the Justice Summit. Now, among the scattered remains left behind by our last battle, we find a present, which contains the key we needed to advance. And before moving on, I'll be picking up all the remaining upgrades except for the final health and magic upgrades, which are still a little too rich for my blood. There's the Charlie murder poster again. It's interesting to note that the female band member Skellekitten is never featured in these posters, the way she is in all the more recent artwork. I'll just be running past these optional enemies, so as to find a secret. Once I'm done deftly avoiding the present, crack it open, and get the ice bead. That will reduce the fire damage that we take. For some reason I can't see that being too useful. After we've gone through the secret, the enemies will drop down right in front of us, which leaves them highly visible and vulnerable to attack. That doorway in front of me is possibly the hardest door in the game to enter, since you can't wall run up to it, and most jumps will put you slightly too high to land inside. There's a familiar wing sticking out of the wall there. And an identical wing in the opposite wall. Not gonna have any time to worry about that though. Throwing two bosses at us. The Cretin and Uber Tank combined do not pose nearly as much of a threat as the Cretin and Goalie did in the last level. But still, you can take quite a bit of damage here. Obviously what you want to do is isolate one of the enemies and eliminate them. I prefer the Uber Tank because it's less likely to run away while you're killing it. Once one of them's dead, you've got a much safer fight on your hands. And the other one will follow quickly. But of course, those foreboding wings were no mere ornaments. You're gonna want to pick a murder fly and get a lot of quick hits in before the second one catches up. Because they're identical, once they both fly off screen, it's kind of easy to lose track of which one you're putting the hurt on. At this point, I've lost my intended target. There is an arcade challenge that makes us do this exact fight, including the Uber Tank and Cretin part, with only the painkiller and conviction. Since completing that fight, I've gained a newfound respect for conviction. Once one murder fly is down, you're pretty safe. Just be careful and be aware that his diving attack can still hit you even if you're on the ground. And most importantly, never go into the air. It's almost a guaranteed hit. For example, as long as you don't make too many mistakes, you should get through it just fine. And in the background of this room are the suits that would be in a deck of cards, the hearts, clubs, diamonds, and spades. Not sure why that's the motif they went with here, but they continue that motif into this vertical hallway, which is once again filled with invisible ninjas. This time, they're very easy to lose because the background's very dark and pretty red. They are pretty much no more invisible than they are here. And because there's 3 levels to this room, they can randomly wander off and get lost, which can be a problem if you're going for that time prize. I've gotten everyone in the game, and I'm not going to miss one now. If you don't let them stray too far, it is a pretty quick fight, though. And get one last consumable that I'm not going to use. And acquiring all the hearts I can, because this next fight is a tough one. Just checking to make sure the wall is connected to the ceiling. And I think it's safe to say that this room is the hardest room in the entire game. There will be wave after wave of enemies, and each wave contains 2 incredibly dangerous enemies. This first wave has 2 chainsaw guys in it. Probably the most dangerous one, in fact. But if you manage to survive this one, they're gonna throw suicidal zombies at you, as well as 2 samurai. You're very likely to get hit by the suicide attack of the zombies, which is very, very damaging. Very difficult to keep focused during this part. Real quick, I wanted to point out something. The samurai always have to die by the execution animation. I believe they're the only regular enemies for that is the case. Which means that if you kill them with the blade magic, Yuki teleports over to their throat and decapitates them. This third wave starts with soldiers. Ends with creepers. This is actually a pretty clever combination, because if you go into the air to try and knock the soldiers off of their zip lines, the creepers will drag you back down to the ground. And both types of enemies have guns, so you're pretty much constantly under fire. I didn't see too much of both creepers in at the same time, so I got relatively lucky here. Now moving on to the 4th and final wave of this room. The tough enemies for this wave are the shark bots, which are considerably less of a threat than the previous ones. Even still, you're likely to be very low on resources at this point, and you're certainly not safe against the shark bots. If you're not incredibly careful, you will die here, and that's just a shame. With some serious persistence, you can eventually make it through that room. And upon a second look, The ceiling is not attached to the wall and contains another secret. Contrast bead. And that achievement means that it's the final bead in the game. We got them all. And they topped it off with a bead that makes the screen very noir. It's actually a really nice effect, but kind of makes it needlessly difficult to see things. And in the background is another billboard for Charlie Murder, of course. This time it's not of the heroes, though. It's of the villainous death metal band Gore Coiffer, formed by a former bandmate of Charlie's. Here's the diamond hallway. And we're at the boss, which means there is no club or spade hallway. Here's the dragon we saw back in the lobby of this tower. Finally gonna get to kill him. This is a good time for the painkiller. And he's yet another boss who can be exploited by not doing grab attacks on him when you're prompted to. So I've let him get off the ground again because it's pretty fun to fight him in the air. Sort of fulfilling my wishes that the murder fly put in my head of an aerial boss fight. And with him out of the way, only one opponent remains. We're not even given the opportunity to kill our final target. He has sacrificed himself to bring the Fallen Engineer back into our world. The Fallen Engineer was the final boss of the first game. His corruption is what forced the Dishwasher to blow up the Earth. So obviously his return cannot be tolerated. He starts off this fight by charging right at you, which can do some quick damage if you're not careful. Can even outright kill you if you've taken too much damage from the Scourge. He takes considerably more damage than most bosses do. However, he never gives you a safe chance to attack him. So you can die very quickly here. I'm already at my last speck of health with no more magic to recover with. So this can be a pretty tense and difficult battle, especially on ninja and samurai difficulties. Before we can deal him the killing blow, he transports Yuki to another world of nightmares. But before we move on to that, let's revisit it with a Dishwasher, who finds Yuki in here. The rest of this cutscene will remain the same as what we saw the first time. While we are revisiting this fight though, a frequent contributor to the thread, Magil of Shadow, had an excellent idea. He said that he wished the final boss music from the last game had played during this boss battle. To which I say, wish granted. Check it out. that last look at what could have been, we will be returning to a world where the dishwasher is just another corpse in Yuki's wake as we face the final level.